Hey guys, my name is Amber and welcome to our channel. The Buccaneers just won the Super Bowl. Go Bucks! So I wanted to talk to you today about our car situation and what we're going to do with our car when we move to Europe. Our plans have been changing a lot, and I think our original plan, which was to ship my car, which is a Honda Accord, over there, that plan has now changed. So my car is paid off, or it will be very soon, and the plan was to ship it, and it would have cost, after taxes and everything, about $1,400. So the actual shipping cost was only like $780, but you have to pay unloading tax and other taxes once you get to Europe, and those are in euro, and of course US dollar isn't as strong as the euro, so it comes out to about $1,400. I thought that was worth it because, one, you can pack the car with as much stuff as you want. So essentially, all of our winter clothes and all of the stuff that we wouldn't really be able to fit into our suitcases, we could pack in the car. A tent, camping gear, all stuff like that, we could put in the car and ship it over there. And then another idea came about after watching lots of YouTube videos about potentially buying a camper van, or buying a van and converting it into a camper van. Then I realized we're really just not those type of people that can spend a whole entire weekend like building out a van. We're not super handy to begin with. So I just know that we wouldn't do it, and it would be like this half-ass van. So I'd rather buy something that's already done. So that would mean we'd have to sell my car, purchase a new van, and then hope that van is as reliable as my car is now, which there's no way to know that. Also, one thing to note is that you do not have to pay VAT tax, which is different in every country, but on the high end is like 20%. It's basically like a goods tax. So if you're importing a car into Europe, you have to pay this VAT tax. But if you're importing a car for tourist reasons and you're not becoming a resident, you're not moving to a country, you do not have to pay that tax. But you can only drive that car in the Schengen zone for 6 months. Now, I've done some research. Some people say you drive it out of the Schengen zone, you drive it back in, and your 6 months, your clock restarts. But that's not actually a written rule. That doesn't say that anywhere. So we kind of were already risking it, taking our car there and doing that. But to not pay the VAT tax, you have to have owned your vehicle for at least 6 months. So if we bought a van right now, we basically would have to stay here until August, which is not the plan, to be able to avoid the taxes. So third option kind of came up with this week. Let's just sell both cars and buy a car over there. Now, I love my car. I planned on keeping my car until it basically did not run anymore. But things change. So some pluses I find with buying a car overseas is that certain countries like Denmark, believe it or not, Hungary, are really cheap to buy a car. Germany has a lot of options, and we'd be buying a car that is made there. So, brands we don't have here like Dacia and Opel, which are pretty well-known brands there, we can get for a lot cheaper. There's also the guarantee that garages and mechanics will know how to work on those cars. I'm not saying they won't know how to work on a Honda, but Hondas are a lot less present in Europe, meaning parts and labor could be a lot more expensive on a foreign car. The cars are also a lot smaller there, which makes them cheaper. They're diesel engines, and diesel gas is much cheaper over there, so that will probably save us money. And then of course we don't have to pay to ship our car. If at the end of the trip we decide we want to take the car back with us, of course we'll have to ship the car back, but we would have had to do that with the Honda anyway. Registering the car in Europe. Originally, we were just going to drive the car around the Schengen zone, drive it out of the Schengen zone, and back in again. So I keep mentioning this Schengen zone, and I realize some of you may not know what the Schengen zone is. So to clarify, the Schengen zone is a group of countries that have basically soft borders with each other. So citizen from Portugal can drive through, Spain, France, Germany, Hungary, Poland, and not have to stop at a border crossing and do, any checkpoint or, show their passport or get their passport stamped. Kind of just like a cooperative where people can move a lot freer. And this is also for, goods and services and exports and things like that. Pretty much every country you think about visiting in Europe, I don't want to say the good ones, but the popular ones, they're in the Schengen zone. I'll put a list here of the ones that are not in the Schengen zone. Most of them are Eastern European countries. So it's kind of hard to explain. It took me a while to understand it, but basically, as an American citizen, you can be in the Schengen zone for 90 days out of a 180-day period. And this is a rolling calculator. So for every day you're in the Schengen zone, you do have to count backwards, basically 180 days and figure out if you've been there over 90 days. And they have online calculators that you can do this, where you can put in the date that you first showed up and then the date you left and then maybe a date you came back, and it'll tell you how many days you have left or if you've extended or overstayed your visa. What a lot of people do, and a lot of Americans do, is they spend 90 days in the Schengen zone and then they spend 90 days out of the Schengen zone. So for certain countries like Croatia, Montenegro, Serbia, all those Eastern European countries, you have, as an American citizen with an American passport, you can stay up to 90 days individually in each of those countries. So we can spend 3 months in Croatia and head back to Germany, Hungary, and Italy and do all that jazz. And then once those 90 days are up, we can head to Montenegro and spend 90 days in Montenegro or Serbia. And so they have their independent, their own visas. So that's the plan. We're not going to try to, we don't really need a visa, and we're not going to try to get citizenship yet. We might, apply for some of the new digital nomad visas that they're offering in Croatia and Estonia. There's an artist visa that they offer in Berlin. So, but we want to travel around and see if there's any place we really like enough to have a home base, or some place that's close enough to all the chess tournaments to have a home base before we commit to anything. Well, after doing some research and finding this YouTube channel by Lockie and Ash, who are an Australian couple who moved over to Europe to travel, bought a van in the Netherlands, I found out that we can register our vehicle in Andorra as a foreigner living abroad. The requirements for this are you have to physically go to Andorra, you have to pay a 4.5% tax, which is nothing compared to some of these other countries where they're charging you 20% VAT tax. 4.5% of the vehicle's worth. So say we buy a car for 8,000 euro, we'll have to pay a tax of 360 euro. Then you have to make sure that your car has a euro emissions of at least Euro 5, meaning your car has to be a 2013 or newer. We'll probably get a newer car because I think that rule will probably change in the next couple of years, and you'll have to have a Euro 6. You have to get insurance in Andorra, which from this channel and from doing some other research, I've discovered is a lot cheaper than some of this third-party insurance that's being offered to us. So it is required in Europe that you have third-party insurance while you're driving. Now, third-party insurance protects the other party if you were to hit them. It does not protect you. And let's say you slide off a mountain and you live, but your car is totaled, you don't get any money for that. So we bought a new car, or we bring our car and we total the car and we don't get a check. So we don't have no car and we have no money. So obviously you want to get full comprehensive collision if that's worth it to you. So I got a quote for third-party insurance from a company in Germany, and I think it was like $1,200 for the year. And then the regular comprehensive collision insurance was $1,000 for the year. So that comes out to $2,200 for the year, which comes out, and this is euro, by the way, it's not, we're making money in US dollars. So we have to be mindful of the fact that the dollar is not as strong as the euro. So we're losing money every time that conversion happens, and every time we're getting charged in euro. So that's 183 euros a month we're paying for insurance, and we're paying like $200 something for 2 vehicles right now in the US. So for one car, that's a lot of money. But if we get insurance in Andorra, it can be as low as 500 euro for the year for full comprehensive and third party. We could have our vehicle shipped and still registered in Andorra, But there's a lot of inspections and there's these road tests and, road worthiness, road safety tests that they have to perform on these vehicles in each country. Each country has their own. If we're buying a car in Europe at a dealership, it has to have passed all these inspections already. With our car, we're hoping it passes an inspection. There's, no way to really know. Now, if we purchase a car in Germany or Denmark or the Netherlands, they will give you a 15-day export permit. So you have 15 days to basically get it out of the country and ship it wherever. In our case, exporting it to Andorra. If you have certain paperwork called MT2, supposedly, you get your tax money back that you paid on the vehicle. Now, this process in Andorra could take up to 5 to 7 days. So, of course, we're having to put up for a hotel and stay in Andorra, but we're gonna have MT plates is what they're called, and they're actually European plates that we can drive around, and we can renew them every year by mail, so we don't have to physically go back to Andorra to renew these plates. So I'm thinking that this is probably our best option and our best alternative to shipping my car. Some other bonuses to not shipping the car are the fact that we can now fly into whatever city is cheapest. Our car was being shipped to Amsterdam because that was the cheapest port from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to ship it. It was only $740. But we live in Tampa, so now we have to take our car to Fort Lauderdale, stay in Fort Lauderdale, find a flight out of Fort Lauderdale to Amsterdam. So there is no other option. That's where we have to go. Or go somewhere and then make our way back to Amsterdam. Well, now we don't have to do that. Now we can get a flight straight out of Tampa. Somebody or one of our friends can drive us to the airport and we can fly into Paris if it's cheaper or London if it's cheaper, which those tend to be a little bit cheaper usually. So we have more freedom of where we fly out of, how much money we spend on tickets, and then we also have time to kind of travel a little bit and look for a car. We don't need a car right away because we're kind of staying in one little area in Germany and the Netherlands. So we can kind of take our time purchasing a vehicle. There's also a lot of camper vans for sale in Europe. The camper van life is alive and well. A lot of people, I think, did it for a year or two and then now they're selling their vans. So finding a van that's reliable, that doesn't have that many miles on it, may be difficult, but one that's already built out. And in Europe, the cars are smaller, so we wouldn't be bringing a Ford Eco van that only gets 12 miles per gallon. We'd be getting a small, VW van that gets 18 miles per gallon. One thing about buying a camper van here and shipping it overseas that I forgot to mention is that, one, the shipping costs will be much more expensive because your weight increases and your length increases. And two, there are different hookups for electric, for the water tanks, for the freshwater tanks. All of those are different in Europe. So if we buy a car here or a camper van here, we won't be able to hook it up without a converter or something to the power at campgrounds in Europe. So that is something to keep in mind. That is a big reason, I think, for buying a camper van overseas. So the main factors are shipping costs, taxes, gas prices, and registering the vehicle. So for these reasons, I think we're going to go ahead and sell both of our cars and purchase a car abroad. And we will take you along to show you that journey. I'm sure it will be much more difficult than it sounds because everything usually is, but it's an adventure and we are ready for it. We are really ready to leave. So come on, COVID vaccine, can't get here soon enough, and we can start traveling the world and living our dreams. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.